Well guys, I'm here with an updated review for my 2021 Nissan Titan Pro 4X. I had done an initial review of this truck almost a year ago, shortly after I had purchased it. I had put about 3,000 or 4,000 miles on it only. At the time it had 66,666 miles on it. And I gotta say that I was looking at the truck through maybe whiskey goggles, beer goggles, rose-colored glasses, if you will. I was giving my honest opinion and my true perspective of the truck at that time, but it being new and me loving it, it running good, looking good, I may have had a little bit of a rosy perspective, a rosy outlook on the thing. So I'm here to tell you today, now, about a year later, having just rolled over 77,777 miles on this sucker, I'm going to give you a little bit of an update and tell you a little bit about how my opinions have changed. So I'll just give you a quick rundown of what's done to the truck right now, some of the things that I like about the truck, and then a couple of the dislikes that I've developed over the last several months. Right off the rip, you can tell it's not completely stock. We're sitting on a Rough Country 3-inch lift. We have the Rough Country upper control arms as well. We have 33 1250 Nitto Ridge grapplers on this sucker, and we are rocking the Black Diamond BD 0102 wheels. You have to correct me on that one if I'm wrong, but that's a sick wheel. I love the black and white combination. You can see I added the Titan badge here. I thought it was a lot of white on the truck and it needed a little pop of something there to kind of break everything up, so I ordered those. You can see the Rough Country 2-inch pod lights here. They are the white LEDs as well as the amber. They're a good light, and I'll show you the control system here in a minute. I wrapped the front skid plate in carbon fiber wrap. It just kind of gives it a little bit of a good look. I wasn't too fond of the silver, kind of stuck out like a sore thumb, so thought a carbon fiber accent would be pretty dope. I continued that with the carbon fiber accent on the Pro 4X. You can see the yellow or the amber lights in the grille. Those look pretty sick. I also added the Titan badge and the V8 badge on the rear, again, just to break up some of that white. You may or may not be able to notice it, but the taillights are tinted with vivid vinyl. It's a light smoke. It just kind of ties that beauty plate, that plastic piece on the tailgate, which I actually like. A lot of people don't like that, but I do. It kind of just ties everything together and wraps it around that tailgate. I also continued the carbon fiber accent on that Pro 4X there as well. I was sort of reserving the vehicle content for my other channel, Speed Culture Studios. If you guys are interested in more vehicle related stuff, check out that channel as well. But a lot of people on this channel have asked about the truck, so we're doing it today. God, it's a beautiful sunset right now. Another thing that you can notice is the ARE camper shell, or the bed topper. This is a nice addition. Again, this channel is kind of related to outdoor adventures, travel, and things like that. We're doing a little bit of camping, a little bit of boondocking. We want to haul our dogs with us, and it's just convenient and comfortable for them to be riding in the back. I built a platform back there with some padding, a little bit of a storage compartment as well. Check that out on the channel as well. Really kind of a DIY project for under a couple $100. It's easy, and it's actually been very, very helpful for us over the last several months or so. Love the dark tinted windows, especially with the white of the truck. I think they are 15%. That's my guess. The previous owner did it, so I can't be certain, but that'd be my guess. We also have this matte, or it might even be a satin black, hood accent. I think that adds a little bit of dimension. I think it's really sick. I like it. Previous owner did that, so I don't have details, but there's a lot of options available online for you. Pro 4X is such a good looking trim. I love the blacked out grille. I love the black accents on the wheel wells. It's just a good looking truck in my opinion. One of the better looking trucks on the market. Under the hood you can see the Z1 off-road oil catch can. It's a great addition for these 5.6 liter V8s. They tend to have a lot of blow by, and you want to protect your valves and your intake from getting all gummed up. Speaking of intake, we got the Z1 off-road cold air intake. Check out my installation video, and I also did a test video on that. And then you can see sort of the circuit panel for the off-road lights. We're going to be adding some additional in there. They're all focused right there. It's kind of nice to have everything run into there and then have power distributed from the switch panel, which I'll show you. Switch panel is mounted nicely inside of here. Again, we're going to be adding a bunch of different lights and some other accessories to this truck, so that'll be a great sort of control center location for our lighting. There's a lot of Nissan Titan overview videos out there already explaining all the details and the bells and whistles that the Nissan Titans have, so I'm not going to spend too much time on that, but the gist of it is a 5.6 liter V8. It makes about 400 horsepower, 400-ish foot-pounds of torque. It's got a 9-speed automatic transmission, supposedly to help it get a little bit of better gas mileage. You got to have reasonable expectations for a big V8. You're driving a brick down the road. So it doesn't get that great of gas mileage, but I will say that I get about 17 to 18 miles per gallon. I recently took a trip down to Charleston, which is about 200 miles from here in Greenville, South Carolina, averaging about 80 to 85 miles per hour. and we still got 17.3 miles to the gallon. So it's pretty good for a big truck that's revving it out. Another highlight or another feature that's really important to note, particularly for this channel because we do have a camper, is that towing capacity is right around, I think it's like 92 or 9,300 pounds. We do have a camper. It's a 26-foot camper. It's about 7,000 pounds fully loaded. I think the tongue weight is rated about 750, but it's probably closer to 900, something like that. So we have plenty of room, plenty of leeway in pulling that camper, and it does a great job. Speaking of gas mileage, towing that camper, we get about 11 miles to the gallon, and that's in kind of relatively hilly terrain here in the upstate of South Carolina. So I can't really complain all that much about it. Typical of Nissan Infiniti, they seem to make up for a lack of power with really high revving engines and short first gears. My 350Z is like that. The Q50 is sort of like that. The Nissan Xterras are like that. And of course the Titan, first gear, it revs wild, but I gotta say it's helpful when you're doing some off-roading because it prevents excess wheel spin when you're trying to get through some rugged terrain, but it's also helpful in pulling those heavy loads. It gets you off and going off the line. And then once you get into second, third, and fourth gear, it really kind of chugs along and it tows with ease. So I gotta say, I love how the truck looks. Like I mentioned, they're really good looking trucks. I like the materials on the interior. Some people complain. I've seen some review videos complaining about the interior materials, saying that they're failing or they're wearing out prematurely. I just feel like that's not correct. I mean, you saw the inside of this thing. It's got almost 80,000 miles on it. The seats are like brand new. The controls are all brand new. The door handles and panels are all like brand new. What it really comes down to is if you take care of the truck's going to take care of you. Don't beat on it. You know, it's going to be different too if you're working outside and you're, you know, bringing in a lot of mud and dirt and you got dirty hands and you're working the steering wheel and the door handles and the lever and all that stuff. Of course, that's going to take a toll. But again, if you just maintain it, try to keep things clean and free of dust and dirt and grime, it should stay in relatively good condition. The seats materials clean up really nicely. They're really soft, really comfortable, really cushy. So I do, you know, from a kind of a bird's eye view, I really do like the truck. It sounds great. It runs good. Pulls pretty good. It looks fantastic, interior and exterior, but there are some things that I don't like about it. And these are some things that didn't really stand out to me in that initial review. So what are they? This is all the further the back door opens. That is a fully open back door. It may be something small, but I can't tell you how many times I've opened it thinking that it was going to open further and you run into it. I don't know why they don't allow it to even go another 10 degrees. It may be stupidity on my part, clumsiness, maybe. But if you're trying to throw a bunch of crap in the back seat of your truck and the door doesn't swing open all the way, it's a little bit annoying. One thing is I don't like how they design the wheel gap here. It makes it difficult to upsize your tire and get more aggressive with your offset because you run into rubbing issues here and in the back. Again, that's a minor complaint. It's just a little annoying. I mean, it's not even a relevant complaint, but it's just something. Some people complain about the 9-speed transmission being a little bit clunky going down into first gear. I did notice that as well. Even if you have the tranny replaced or reprogrammed, it's still a little bit clunky when it's downshifting going into a stoplight. But I've gotten used to that over the last year, and you sort of learn the quirks and the idiosyncrasies of your vehicle, and this is true for any vehicle. And you just kind of learn how to drive around it, and I don't really notice it all that often. But from time to time, I'm not paying attention, I come to a stop, you can feel it kind of jerk. Again, very minor thing and not really much of a complaint at all. Another thing that drives me crazy, and people didn't seem to like this when I mentioned it in a video, is that the passenger seat has no vertical adjustment, just, you know, forward and back and tilt, no up and down. And it actually sits kind of low. So my wife, who's 5'6", can barely see over the dash, and it's annoying. And a lot of people say, well, she's not driving. What's the big deal? It shouldn't matter. That's like, what was the comment? Well, that's like saying, oh, the back seats don't vertically adjust. The people in the back are children or people sitting behind the front passenger and the driver. They don't need to adjust up and down. With that being said, there are vehicles with rear adjustable seats. So take that. But truly, I mean, you want your passenger to be comfortable. And it's not just being able to raise it, it's being able to lower it. It sits kind of right in the middle. My driver's seat is lower than this passenger seat for my comfortability. I'm 6 feet tall. My head is barely clear of the roof where I sit. If somebody is 6'2", 6'3", I got a couple of friends that are 6'5", if they're sitting in the passenger seat, their heads are going to be rubbing the ceiling. That's stupid. No adult man should have to get in a full-size truck that's fully loaded with all of the bells and whistles and not be able to adjust the seat up and down. I think that's stupid. It's just dumb. Nissan, what were you thinking? Believe it or not, guys, those are really the only complaints that I have. Very superficial, very surface level, kind of minute complaints. The one big one being the towing capacity. Of course, I wish it could tow a little bit more. That's not that big of a deal. Everyone wants a little bit better gas mileage, but again, it's a nice, rumbly, torquey V8. So who cares, right? One thing I will say is that I'm a little bit disappointed in the lack of aftermarket support. You can't really compare it to a Jeep because the Jeep's legacy and the enthusiasm and the support around the Jeep Wrangler in particular, it's hard to compete with, but it's pretty tough to find aftermarket parts and accessories for the Titan. Z1 Off-Road's doing a pretty good job. They seem to focus more on the Frontier, which I can understand. More people are kind of off-roading the Frontier and not a full-size truck necessarily. And aside from Z1, there are a couple of smaller independent guys that make some stuff like CJD Racing. Check out my installation video of these pod light brackets. They're like 130, 140 bucks. There's a couple of guys out there doing stuff like that, some 3D printing stuff. But other than that, it's hard. It's hard to find stuff. I like to do exhaust work on all my vehicles. I want to do something with a Titan, but all of the exhaust systems out on the market right now are pretty expensive considering how not good they sound. Japanese engines always have a lot of rasp, and the Titan is no different, even with the factory exhaust, and I don't like that. I don't like raspy, rattly, bees in a coffee can sounding exhaust system. So I'm probably going to go the custom route, which I've done with about 90% of my cars, and we're going to do it with the Titan as well, and I got a plan. I think I got a good combination. The thing's gonna rumble, sound good, and not be obnoxious. But other than that, I love it. It's a great truck. Knock on wood. It's a great truck. For the money, the Nissan Titan is very hard to beat. It is a great overall truck. Very, very capable. Really good looking. Still has that V8. Still has the column shifter. It's the real deal.